What's up, Facebook, Steam It, YouTube, Instagram? I don't think I'm even going to go on Instagram with this, but this is just a continuation of my active shooter series. Yeah, I got a little sick, lost my voice. So if I sound a little gruff, that's part of the reason. Plus, I'm exhausted because I've been working a lot for the last couple days, so not very much sleep. And then with my baby, he doesn't want to go to bed at night, so keeps me up late. But anyway, I'm going to continue this active shooter series because I believe it's important, not just because of Las Vegas, but because it could happen anywhere. It could happen at your workplace. So today's active shooter tips are about being more aware of your surroundings. So it's about your environment and using any obstacles that you can in that environment to create some distance or artificial distance, or buy you some time so that you can figure out what to do next if you have a plan, or if your plan has fallen apart, or if you have no plan. It buys you time so that you can really get your decisions correct. Before, I talked about concealment and I talked about cover. Those are also parts of your environment, but those are things that you would consider to kind of block you from the vision of the shooter. Obstacles now, or barriers, are things that not only block, but they also prevent the shooter from physically getting to you. So, I mean, if you're in a room and you have a thick door and that door has a lock, that door becomes blockable, or an obstruction for your shooter to not be able to get to you or not be able to see you clearly. Now, of course, if that door has windows on it, like if you're in a school and they have those little tiny windows on those steel doors, steel door may provide you some protection. If you turn the lights out, it'll also provide you a little bit more concealment. But he could probably look through that window and see, where are you in this room? And if he gets a glimpse of movement or of your shoes or anything, he's going to know you're in there. And most likely your time is limited because he's going to try to get in that room to shoot all you guys. So you want to do something that, encompasses everything that I've talked about. You want to conceal yourself. You want to have sufficient cover. Think about the materials that you have in the room there. Again, if it doesn't stop a semi-truck, it's not going to stop a bullet. So if it's a steel door, a semi-truck could probably break through it if it hits it hard enough, but it will slow the semi-truck down. Same thing with the ammunition from, a gun. It may take some time to penetrate the door, but it will penetrate the door eventually. And the main thing you want is, you just want to create something that will deter the shooter from getting into that room. Because trust me, a shooter has a limited time frame. They want to get in quick, and if possible, they want to get out quick. So they want to do as much damage as possible in the shortest amount of time, because they know there's a response time for the police. And they have enough window to be able to kill all you guys, where they can get in and get out. And they want to take full advantage of that. So you want to create as much time distance between you and that shooter, so that he'll reconsider maybe trying to, or she may reconsider trying to shoot you. So a locked door, typically they'll go and try doors. If it's locked, they're not going to spend the time trying to pick it or trying to get through it, but they may look through it just to see, is it worth it for me to spend some time getting through here? And they may not even have to get in that room. If they got that little window there, they might be able to shoot through that window to make a hole where they can stick the barrel of the gun and stick the muzzle of the gun right through that window and point it at you enough where you're in trouble. So keep those things in mind. A wooden door, if it's a thick wooden door, you have better chances. If it's one of those thin, like plywood or particle board doors, ain't gonna happen. So those are things to think about. If you have desks or filing cabinets or safes or anything that you can push up against that door, or push in a way that would obstruct or barricade you to buy some time, those are other things you can think about. If you have anything slippery like oil or even hairspray that you can light on fire, something to deter him from coming over there. That's another thing, because he's not going to want to walk through fire to get to you now. But think about, again, your surroundings. If you're in a wooden building, you've just created your own death trap, because you're probably going to set the place on fire, and you won't be able to get out because you got a shooter out there waiting outside, and or the fire may get so big you have no more exit. So those are things to take in consideration. So being aware of your surroundings is very important, because as you go into rooms and as you go into places, if you take notification of, or take note of all the things that are around you, you know, and the materials they're made out of, it's important for you to make decisions in the future. See, like in the last video, I talked about how if you use distraction to get a shooter to look this way, you may go out that way, on condition if you've taken into consideration, yeah, the floor is carpet, and carpet will muffle the sounds of my footsteps, you might get away with that. So if you distract him and then you kind of out, he may not hear it. But let's say you have hard bottom shoes like I like to wear sometimes. So you got dress shoes because you're at work and you're in professional gear, and it's a hard floor. When you walk on it, it's like, you know, that high heel sound that gets all the guys' attentions. When they hear a woman walking in high heels, they immediately want to look, because it's like that sound draws their attention there. So that's that same sound, even for you guys who have hard bottom shoes. It's that same sound that, you know, he's distracted over here and you start walking, he's going to look, oh, you're trying to get out. So you got to take that into consideration too. Like I said, you might want to try to escape when you distract them, but you might not also. So all these things that take into consideration. So you got to start practicing it on a regular basis, become more aware of it, because it's hard to be aware of all these things. It's a lot to take in if you're not used to doing it. So that's why I do these videos, so that you can start to consider those things. So you know, like obstacles, you know, they may not provide cover, but like I said, if it makes it difficult for the shooter, him or her, to walk over, you know, you have that advantage. The other advantage is if you are in a workplace or in your home or a place where you go to regularly and you know the ins and outs of that building, you have an advantage over someone who, you know, let's say it's a church. Let's say it's a church and it's a radical person from another religion. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Muslim. Could be another Christianity or something. If you're in a Christian church, could be another form of Christianity that's just psycho and wants to kill people because they don't agree with your thinking. If they don't go to your church, you may have an advantage. You know where to hide. You know how to escape. You know how to cover yourself. So if they come down the hall and you want to attack them, you'll be able to surprise them. And they may not have that advantage. However, if it's a coworker or a fellow churchgoer, and they know the building just as well as you do, you may not have that advantage. So those are other issues to deal with. But knowing your surroundings is important, because you'll know the ins and outs of it. Like I said, you know, I used to work in a grocery store, and in one of the sections, it had ledges up there where you could climb up on top, and no one would even think to look up there, because you just walk by there and it doesn't register. Plus the ledge it juts out, but the wall behind it and the ledge are the same color, so it's almost like psychologically it blends in. So if you decided to jump up there and hide up there and just stay quiet, no one would think to climb up onto the shelves and look over. You might escape in that regard. So you know, keeping your surroundings is very important. Also, if you decide to go out a window, do you know if there's a ledge outside? Have you ever bothered to look? What if you decide to step out the window without even looking? There's no ledge there. You and yourself, you know, unless you're on the first floor, of course. You know, you don't want to do that. Even if there is a ledge there, is it possible for someone to see you if you decide to go out on the ledge and kind of hang out there until it's safe? So your surroundings are very, very, very important. And I suggest that you guys start to take note of those things. So that you can make plans, make mental plans all the time. Get a healthy dose of paranoia. Not one that's so psychotic that you're just like nervous about everybody. But you shouldn't trust anybody at any time. If they're not part of your family, even if they're part of your family. I've had family members that have done things that have tried to hurt my own family. So, you know, you can't trust anybody these days. And you really shouldn't trust anybody at all. You know, have a healthy, you know, there's a little level of trust where you work with people and all, but you should always be cautious about people. You never fully know what's going on in here. You can look in their eyes, you look in their face, but you don't know really what's going on here unless when you're one of those psychic people. And I don't really believe there are people that are truly that psychic to know exactly what you're thinking. There may be, I have no idea. I'm not one of those. So I always have a healthy dose of paranoia and suspicion about people all the time. People have been suspicious of me in the past, and I don't hold that against them, because you don't know someone truly. And I'm kind of a suspicious looking person. I shave my head. I could be a gang member. I could be a skinhead, even though I'm not. People may think that about you because you've got these stereotypes. And stereotypes, a lot of people don't like it when police profile bad guys, but a lot of the times profiling helps police catch bad guys because typically birds of a feather flock together and they think alike. They got that same mentality. So you can tell a lot by an appearance, but at the same time you can be wrong. So you have to be cautious, but have that healthy suspicion. I've been pulled over by police for my appearance, and I have no problem with that. I haven't done anything wrong, and as long as the police don't abuse me while they're pulling me over, I've got no problem. It's just all part of it, and I don't act in a way that causes them to do that. I always have my hands visible. That's another issue. You got to be aware of your surroundings in an active shooter situation, because sometimes the police can be your friend, but if they don't know who the shooter is, the police could be your worst enemy, because if you act like the shooter or you make them suspicious of you, you could end up getting shot. Because a police officer's first duty when they come into a building is not to rescue you. Contrary to your thought. A lot of people think that when police come into a building, it's to save them. That is not what police do. If you're bleeding on the floor, a police officer is not going to render you first aid. They're not going to help you, because that's not their first priority. They're not going to bend over, try to stop your sucking chest wound from a bullet hole or a knife wound, and put all their attention here when a shooter's there and could be pointing a gun at them at that very moment they come to the door and kill them or create another victim. No, the police officer's first priority is to neutralize and to apprehend all shooters. So you need to be careful. They're not going to trust you because they don't know who the shooters are. And so when they come in there and you're expecting, hey, come save me, you're reaching out to them. You got to be aware of your surroundings, and that includes, is law enforcement present? So if law enforcement is present and you decide to be a hero that tries to attack the shooter, and there are multiple shooters, and you take down one of them, and you think it's a great idea to put on their clothes and take their gun and everything so that you can engage the other guys, be very cautious about that strategy, because if the police come in and their SWAT team comes in and they see you, what are you going to do if they see you? Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to react in that situation? So that's part of your being aware of your surroundings. Are the police there? Did they arrive? You may not know, because you're going to be in such a hyper focused situation because of your fear or your willingness to attack these guys, that you may not notice them arrive, and they could become your worst nightmare. They could become part of the problem for you, because you became part of the problem for them, not being aware of what their role is in an active shooter situation. And yeah, there are some situations like this Las Vegas situation where we don't trust law enforcement because there may be something underhanded going on, like the way the FBI is kind of overlooking the way the Metropolitan Sheriff is, giving press conferences, and the way the sheriff seems so nervous. It seems like the FBI is trying to control the information there. So of course you can't always trust that the law enforcement is on your side. And this is where I get into arguments with people who want gun control, because they expect the government people who have guns to protect you. Sometimes the government people's interest is not to protect you. They want to control you. So in the situation where you give up your right to bear arms, you're really foolish in giving up that right. The reason we have those arms was well stated by the founding fathers of this country, is that it's to protect us from an oppressive government. A well-regulated militia is the people. The people can hold their arms. That's why after certain wars, the military people were allowed to keep their firearms. It's because it was understood that the people were the militia, and whenever they were needed, they were to be called upon. to protect and defend our nation and our Constitution and our freedoms and our beliefs. So don't be so quick to relinquish your firearms. Don't let Jimmy Kimmel come in and cry. We lost some people. I'm a father too. I could easily generate tears too if I wanted to. If I did a monologue long enough where I talk about kids, we lost some kids. It's a bad situation. Careful of those people. These are actors. These are Hollywood people. And a lot of times the Hollywood people are very leftist. They believe in communism. They believe in fascism. They believe in control by the government. And they try to use that emotional crap to get you to not think. You're immediately going to go, they're going to go to your heart right away. And you're going to go, oh yeah, we shouldn't let people have guns. Wrong. 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 There are always bad people. And there are always good people. Both should have firearms. Because trust me, if you take the good people's guns, then only the bad people will have the firearms. And you don't want that. And again, the police can sometimes be the bad people. I'm not speaking against law enforcement. I'm just saying in some situations, cops are people too. And there may be a bad cop even there. And they may not just like you. And they just may take you out. So you don't want to give the police a reason to shoot you. First and foremost, their agenda is to take out the shooter. Either kill him, neutralize him, incapacitate him, whatever means that is. Whether they shoot him to death or they shoot him to maim him or her. Most of the time, active shooters are guys. So that's why I say him a lot. But their main role is to incapacitate the shooter. And you don't want to pose as a shooter or an unknown. And you don't want to be psychotic. So if they come into the building, you want your hands visible. You do not want to shout at the officer. You want to comply with the officer's commands. Both of your hands should be up, should be visible, shouldn't be near your body where you can reach. If an officer sees you doing this, or if you're like this, officer doesn't know, are you going to reach in and grab something? Do you have a hidden firearm somewhere? They're very suspicious. They don't know what's going on. They're just coming into a dangerous situation, and they know that the suspects are armed, but they don't know who they are right away. So, and a lot of the times a suspect will even hide after they know the police have gotten there. They may ditch the weapons. They may ditch their gear. They may hide amongst the victims so that when they're filing out, they can get out. Unfortunately for them, everyone gets questioned. No one's released when they get out of a building. So, knowing that, you've got to constantly think about those things and plan for your protection. So, being aware of your surroundings. Get away from glass. If you're by a glass window, same concepts of when there's an earthquake or if there's a hurricane. You want to stay away from things that if someone starts shooting nearby you, you don't get hit with projectiles. You don't want to lock yourself in a room where, yeah, you've got perfect cover, but then it seals out the air. I'm thinking of like the bank situation. Yeah, a vault is a great place to hide from a killer, especially if they don't have the codes. But if you're in that bank vault for 2 hours, that air may run out, and you may end up dying of asphyxiation. You have no oxygen in that situation. So, again, don't put yourself in danger by trying to escape the danger. So it requires a lot of planning, a lot of thought, a lot of confidence. And even then, even when you plan, you may not do it properly. Even when you may not execute that plan properly, even after you plan. So you always have to have plan B, which is be prepared to go hands-on. Be prepared to go hands-on. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next video because this video is getting to be long. But I just wanted to cover those things so that you guys can think about that. Start looking at the things around you. Looking at the materials. Glass, when it breaks, could make a great knife. But if you hold it, it'll cut you. So how can you hold that glass in a way that if you need to use it as a knife to defend yourself from a killer, it doesn't cut you? Maybe you need to wrap the glass with some cloth or hold it with a leather glove or something. Think about those things before you do it. All right, y'all. May God bless you. May you always be aware and awake and safe. Be aware of your surroundings at all times, whether you're driving, you're at work, you're shopping. Shopping is a great example. Women put their purses in their shopping cart and then they turn away from them to look at the stuff on the shelves, and somebody comes along and grabs something, or even grabs their purse. That is an example of how are you not aware of your surroundings. Start to make yourself aware. God bless you. Take care. Stay safe.